just wanted to quickly come on and talk about the cast of principal actors that we have in The Outsiders, and because I'm sure you're wondering, like, how did I find them? How did they get to be in the show? And to start off with Brody, he came to a Dear Evan Hansen open call back in 2018 when he was a freshman at Shenandoah University. He came up with his roommate, Roman Banks, at the time, and just kept tabs on him since, and he's taped for The Outsiders pre-pandemic, for the Goodman production, and then when we were recasting for the Danya Taymor workshop and La Jolla and all of that, we kept bringing him in, and he got the job. Sky Lakota Lynch has been with the show even before I started working on the show. He auditioned for the part of Johnny Cade. He re-auditioned when we got the new creative team, and there's no denying that Sky is Johnny Cade. But I first met him back when we were recasting Dear Evan Hansen, and Tara Rubin found him from what we like to call clicking around, just researching and seeing who could be Jared Kleinman. And we auditioned him. He was hilarious. He has his voice is just like unreal. If you ever like really listen to the tenor line in Grease Got a Hold, like Sky is holding that down. It's basically alto. It's an alto line. And so that's how Johnny Cade, Sky Lakota Lynch, came into our lives. Josh Boone was submitted by his agent. At the same time, Brody was working with him on another project, so he was coming from me from different angles, and it was hard to ignore. Obviously, Josh Boone is an established actor and hadn't done a musical in a long time, so I was sort of unsure about him, and we were finally able to get him in, which was also a little tricky, and he knocked it out of the park, and it was his job, always. This minute timer on Instagram is like really messing up with my flow. I would just want to keep talking and then it cuts me off, so this is now like my 10th time doing this video. Alright, like quick rundown. Emma Pittman, of course I've known her for a long time, just through like the industry. Like everyone knows her from Search for Roxy. I got to audition her for Dancin' at one point, and she submitted for the Goodman production, but we weren't really looking for a cherry back then. And then, you know, when we were recasting post La Jolla, she was an obvious name to bring in because I knew she could sing. I just, wanted to see more of her, see what she can bring to the acting of Cherry, which has always been such a tricky thing to get right. And she knocked it out of the park. I remember one callback, I was like, this is it. I finally got Cherry. Really quickly about the Curtis brothers. Jason, I heard about through his agent, who was telling me how his new client just booked the Grease series and blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, oh, cool. He might be in our show at some point. So when the time came, I auditioned him for the role of Bob, and some switch-arounds happened, and he became our Soda, and then he's great. Speaking of switching roles, Brent Comer was originally our Paul at La Jolla, and we switched him to Daryl when we were recasting Daryl for Broadway, because he understudied that part in La Jolla, and he was fantastic in his auditions, and the part was always his. It was like sort of kismet that like everything kept us going towards Brent as Daryl. Daryl Tofa was in our ensemble at La Jolla. Always known he was a great dancer, and when we were condensing the cast from La Jolla to Broadway and we wanted to make Tuba a dancer role, we knew that Daryl was at the top of mind for that. And then for our two Soshas, Paul and Bob, I met them through like agent submissions. I didn't really know their work. Kevin had been out of school for a little bit, And you know, he has those piercing blue eyes, and he's tall, and he's so Sochi. It's like, yeah, that's Bob. And Dan Barry came to us at a showcase and from an agent submission, and you know, we tried him on a bunch of material, and he's been fantastic. And every time he's come in for us, so happy to have them all.